interest of disclosing how far outside of my lane I am. This is probably going to be some of the weakest gameplay that you see in a weapon select video, because not only are these all chargers, which is my worst weapon class as an individual, they also have 3 specials that I have never played in a competitive context. I've never played an Ultra Stamp weapon, I've never played a Kraken weapon, I've never played a Zipcaster weapon, and had to learn it for a competitive team. So this is not going to be my strong suit, but I'm hoping I can at least put together some cobbled together ideas of some of the people who I know who do play these weapons to give you, as a beginner, a bit of a leg up over somebody who is starting from scratch. So, let's talk about the Goo Tuber to start with. This has never been a popular competitive weapon at any point in time. It was introduced in Splatoon 2, and there has never been a Goo Tuber kit that saw significant protracted competitive use. The closest that it ever got was at the beginning of Splatoon 3, specifically around October in the Big House, where it was used a couple of times by Chara and Power and maybe some others. I don't remember if there was anybody else. Specifically for missile spam. That was the reason that Chara cited for using it. Power was actually playing it a lot more like a standard charger. So if you want to play it more as a Goo Tuber mains weapon instead of we need missiles and a torpedo, I would watch Power's perspective more than I'd watch Chara's there. Chara's playing it much more for tap shots and paint than anything else, but these days, the niche that Chara was trying to use the Goo Tuber for is much better filled by multiple other weapons, really, and that's not really a niche that's even that desirable in the game right now, because missiles are no longer as big of a part of it. So, let's say we're using Goo Tuber for the main weapon. Well, let me give you a very sad and unfortunate demonstration of how this weapon works. So, here we are at max range. You can see we're just barely shy of being able to hit this target. We move a little bit further forward, and we can hit it, but back here we cannot. This weapon gets outranged by the Splatana Stamper. So, it's really hard to justify running a weapon with this little range when, usually for chargers, the range is the selling point. This is a weapon that takes a really long time to charge, and sure, it one-shots, but in the time that it takes to charge, you can often splat someone with a different weapon. And this whole time, you're lining up your shot. You're not doing damage yet. You're not putting damage in the bank. You are just giving your position away with the laser before the shot ever gets fired. So, this whole thing works if it's offset by a really long-range one-shot. The fact that it one-shots at a certain point is nice, and as you can see, this is not a full charge that I'm firing. The Goo Tuber got an update recently where, as you're charging, the first circle shows when you get your one-shot, and then the second circle shows when you get your max range. So, just to show a little bit of a comparison out here, here is roughly the range of the one shot. That's probably a little bit early. Here is the max range. So you can see you get a pretty significant boost to that max range shot. You can also see that it paints significantly more when you fire the max range shot. But if all you're trying to do is splat someone, you're trying to get used to when that first circle fills. As you can see, I don't have it like super finely tuned, because as I've said, I don't play this weapon, but this is something you would really want to get used to if you play this weapon, understanding where your one-shot is, how much time it takes to charge for that. You also, on this particular weapon, just want to get used to any of the individual damage combos that you've got, because there are a lot of them. Your tap shot does 40 damage minimum, and then you've got a Fizzy Bomb. And Fizzy Bomb is really prime for combos. If you ever hit 2 shots of the Fizzy Bomb, no matter how weak they are, tap shot will finish them off. But let's say you get the 50 damage hit. Well, you're not quite going to splat with a tap shot. And so you also want to get the hang of when you're going to do, say, 50 damage. You also want to get the hang of when you're going to do 65 damage, because most hits of a Fizzy Bomb are going to do 35. So working out how much of your charge you need to get there, that's about half charge. Half charge gets you about 70. It's maybe a little more than half charge that gets you there. I'm having trouble timing it. Bad rhythm game player. So it's about 70 for a half charge, and then for quarter charge is pretty fast. Quarter charge can get you to, let me see. I keep accidentally charging too long. So you get a bit of an idea of the damage numbers here from how much I'm charging. It looks like it's something like 55 or so for a quarter charge. So you kind of want to figure out how long do I have to hold the button down to be able to combo with a certain type of damage. That was just enough. And just enough is generally what you want to be going for, because that means you're going as fast as possible to get this combo. Now, you'll realize that, you know, with the range that you're getting off of this isn't your max range at all. I can definitely hit this target at max range, but that's not where I'm really going to be hitting these like short-range tap shots, because the range increases the more you charge. So while this weapon does have a max range that's comparable to the Splatana Stamper, in reality, a lot of the time, if you're playing for combos and not for one-shots, you're really going to want to be playing at more of a mid-range kind of, like, you know, maybe like Nautilus range. Something like this. Something like maybe Splattershot Pro even. If that's really what you're going to be trying to play to, is having that be your win condition, to be able to hit those kinds of combos. Generally, I think you're probably going to want to play for one-shots when you get the opportunity, but the combos can be helpful for, let's say you've fired a long-range shot, but now you have a target that's closer to you and is trying to close on you. Then you go for something like this to discourage them or to get rid of them as they try to rush you. The combos are really important, and knowing your damage numbers are going to be really important so you can set them up. But your general play style, you're going to be trying to basically be a little bit of an assassin. You're going to be trying to like grab people who aren't looking at you, and all of a sudden be someone who's, you know, able to get lethal damage down in a very quick, decisive combo. You don't want protracted fights because you are a charger, and charger tap shots are definitely not an ideal way to take fights. They're, you know, not bad if they're all you've got, but this is not a splatter shot. You can't just be going around tapping people like this. That is really one of the weaker weapons in the game for trying to play that sort of playstyle. Obviously, getting this down is going to be important, because sometimes you are going to get rushed, and sometimes there is going to be someone on top of you, and this is going to be your fastest way to do DPS. But you're much happier if they don't know that you're there and you're able to sneak a one-shot in somewhere. They're fighting somebody else, you pop up, and you fire that shot that removes them from the map immediately. You're much happier if you're able to throw this in here, recognize that that player got hit, and be able to just go in for a really easy tap shot that you only need to hit one of, and that's functionally a one-shot when you go for it. So you want to be playing around positions, not just positions that are backline positions, because, like, yeah, it's nice to have high ground, it's nice to be able to see stuff, but you don't get as much out of this as you would with, say, an E-liter, because since you're so short-ranged relative to other chargers, there's just not going to be as much that's in your way, and you have the freedom to move a little bit further forward and get down at ground level, because it's less often that something is going to obscure a sight line that you would be able to use. So you might as well take some more unorthodox positions in a lot of cases. You might as well take some positions where you're a little bit more committed, because you have to be able to hit the damage you're trying to put out there, right? You're always going to be putting yourself in range of a Splatana Stamper wherever you're standing. So if that's what you have to worry about, I mean, might as well just go in and fight for it. And that's kind of what your special is designed for, which is something that's a little bit awkward with this weapon, that it's got a special that is much preferred by something like a frontliner, but it's not too bad. You're going to be more aggressive than a real backline charger will be. So there are going to be more positions where you can get into a place and just kind of jump someone. You're going to be in more positions to push forward. You're also going to be able to paint your way forward into stuff by just throwing a fizzy. Because fizzy bombs are fantastic for movement. Outside of curling bombs, they are absolutely the best movement-based sub-weapon. Like, you throw that out there, that's a really straight line that you can swim through very consistently, and it comes out very fast. It's not quite as far and not quite as wide a trail to swim through as a curling bomb, but it's also doubling as an offensive weapon for you, so you can maybe clear the way of someone who's in your way as you try to move forward, and that's a little bit better. And so if you need a way in to be able to use your hammer, well, just pop this off, pop the hammer, and go. And that can be a way that you try to initiate with that. So it's not the worst of mismatches. Like, it would be much weirder to put something like that on like an E-liter. But another thing to think about is that you can just throw this thing. So, hey, look at that. That's a combo. Well, it would have been a combo if I'd hit the 50 damage hit. There are a lot of things that like do an amount of damage that a Goo Tuber who knows their damage numbers can absolutely take advantage of. If you see that someone's damaged at all, you want to know the amount of charge that your weapon needs to be able to finish that splat off, because it can happen really fast. It doesn't take a lot of time to get this much charge, and if that's enough, then you're in good shape. The other thing to know about this weapon, and the main gimmick of it, is its charge hold mechanic. So you get charge, and then you can swim, and you can see it. I've got a glowing circle here. You can swim around and around and around, and it's only then that I've finally lost my charge. Up until that glowing circle goes away, I can pop out and just fire this immediately, and I still have it. So, very similarly to how a Nautilus plays, where a Nautilus basically just always wants to have charge before it does anything. If you're behind cover, there is no reason, if you think there's going to be an opponent in front of you at all, to peek out from behind this corner without getting your charge first. Why would you walk out here or swim out here, see an opponent, and then start charging? Just get your charge here and swim it around. And swim it around as far as you want, because all they're going to have that they can see is this glowing circle, as opposed to the entire laser being out there for the world to see all the way out in front of you. So just swim it around. The same goes for going up walls. This is one of the weapons that actually can make pretty good use of the squid search mechanic, because you can pop up over the top with a one-shot ready to go. And so this is probably like the weapon with the most use cases for that mechanic in the entire game. Blasters also get a lot out of it for being able to throw out their one-shot as well, but this is just a really fast option for surprising someone when you're coming up over the top of a wall. And same kind of deal goes for just swimming up the wall normally. If you're going to go up a wall, just get a charge first, and then if there's someone over the top, you're ready to go. You're ready to fight them. You don't need to set up some combo or anything like that. You don't need to put a fizzy bomb out in front of you and use your whole ink tank for that. You don't need to necessarily pop your hammer if it's just one target. You can just, oh, they're gone. And now we can move forward and use those resources someplace else. So that's one thing that you want to be in your muscle memory, to just, I'm about to go over a wall, I'm about to go up a ledge. Let's just have a charge ready in case there's something I can do with it when I get up there. Let's see what I can do with this thing. I do not have high hopes, but I will do my best. You can see there I was using my movement out of the Fizzy Bomb to try and get in there. That comboed with the Rainmaker damage. Unfortunate that player's there, but I'm just going to see if we can catch them here. Where did they go? Okay, they went over there, and my teammate just wasn't checking it. Darn. I figured my teammate would have checked that, so I was curious, like, wait, where did they go if my teammate didn't find them? The teammate didn't find them because they weren't checking. You can see here, like, I can be somewhat threatening here because I can move this charge around. Oh. Wasn't paying enough attention to what was going on the other side of the stage, but... like, I'm scaring that player away, even though I don't have a ton of range, because I can get the charge from a safe place, but then move it into a place where it would be actually good to use. So you can kind of make up a little bit for the lack of range in that way. It's not making up for it 100%, but it does help. Okay, we've got this player cut off. They just have to keep running, which means we get lead at least. I don't think there's anybody who can stop us from doing this. I was correct. Not a collat, but we get there. That's the most help that I can offer. I don't want to run up that ledge by myself. Let's see if we can get one of these in. This might be annoying. I'm trying to hover around areas where players aren't likely to be looking for me. Okay. Got one. We lose here. Oh well. Oh, they have a disconnect. But I'm trying to hang around areas where they won't expect me to be. I'm trying to put myself in places where it's not quite as important an angle. They've got a distraction coming from another direction. I'm not going to, like, conventional backline positions. I'm trying to go into places where you wouldn't think, oh, there's liable to be a charger here. Couldn't quite hit those. Alright. And now we're in a good position to use this hammer if we find somebody. Last player's over there. We don't really need to do much to take care of them. Why are we going that way? I had a hammer out over here. Oh, I should have had that one. Didn't track it very well. Let's get some ink back here, especially since my teammates got that covered. We'll grab Rainmaker. We're a pretty good weapon to do it. Plays at a very similar range, so you're not losing that much utility from the team. We really shouldn't be struggling quite this much to KO at this point, but it's okay. Try to come across. Try to come across. I've got a laser here. I dare you. Okay. Let's go and help them over here now. Okay, we're fine. We get that. Just the arrow spray. Go find the arrow spray. We've got 52 gals. Go get this arrow spray and get them out of the way so the Rainmaker can move. There. We're not doing this very efficiently. But this should be game. Or not. My goodness. Let's try again. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to defend one time. A Goo Tuber main hits that shot. There we go. Okay. Honestly, it could have been worse. Obviously, there was the DC in the middle of it, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a sense of at least my best understanding of how to try and play the weapon, the ranges that I'm trying to play at, the ways that I'm trying to use the sub-weapon, use the main weapon. I don't go for as many partial charge shots because I'm not so good at them that I can just, like, know I'm going to hit those every time. I might mistime them and not do enough damage, and that would put me in a bad spot. So, as a Goo Tuber main, you would want to be a lot more ambitious about going for those. But for me, that wasn't bad. Oh, also, let's talk about gear real quick. So generally, what you're seeing is there's going to be some amount of swim speed. There's going to be some amount of ink efficiency. Some people are running ink recovery. Some people are running Subsaver instead. But then your mains are going to be LDE and Stealth Jump. And then most of the rest is going to either utility subs or to just buffing mobility a lot. So some people are running mains of run speed or swim speed. And that makes sense because part of the way that you're compensating for the lower range relative to a charger is by being able to move into range with the charge or whatever else ready to go. So that's kind of how you're going to think about it there. If you want special charge, you can run a little bit of that as well. But that's usually what I'm seeing from people here. So next up, we have the fun Squiffer. We have the one that everybody likes. Everybody likes it, except when they get asked to play it in tournament. And then you don't see it as much. But it is absolutely one of the most fun kits that has been added to the game for sure. Zipcaster and Squiffer go together really, really well. So, the Squiffer is a similar kind of charger to the Goo Tuber in a lot of ways in terms of like its range. You know, we're a little bit shorter range, but not by that much. And so to compensate for the lack of range, this weapon happens to have improved mobility. And rather than having a gimmick where once it gets its charge, it can move the charge, the gimmick of this one is that it's able to get the charge while moving better than any other charger. Which is to say that in the air, you don't have any penalty to your charge time. It charges exactly as fast as it does on the ground. You look at, say, the Goo Tuber. You saw, I was struggling to hit quarter charges before, but I've got all the time in the world to figure out where it is because of how slowly it's charging when I'm jumping. And the other chargers are like that too. With the Squiffer, they were just like, no, we will make it charge as fast as it does normally while you're jumping. So this lets you play like a lot of blasters do, where they make jump shots. Like in Splatoon 1, where you didn't quite have the aim RNG penalty that you do now, range blaster jump shots were wild because you were able to fire this really slow-moving weapon without losing that much of your mobility because you were moving through the air the whole time. So that's the big advantage that you get with the Squiffer over other chargers, and it is generally being considered competitively to be a superior gimmick to what the Goo Tuber has. So this is your typical frontline charger, trying to trick shot people kind of weapon. And in assisting that play style is this thing, which lets you 360 no-scope someone if you really want to. I'm not good at that, but it's a thing you can do, and that's one of the reasons why people enjoy it so much, is just being able to set up the goofiest, most intricate possible setup for moving off a ledge and trying to, you can see the appeal, I would hope. And I'm not going to do a great job of showing it off, because I don't know how to aim with this weapon. But, like, that'd be pretty cool if you hit that on someone in a real match. On top of that, you now actually have a lethal bomb, as opposed to the point sensor that was kind of, I will say, felt like it was kind of holding back the other kit. This is a weapon that's extremely, extremely main weapon reliant if you don't have a sub-weapon. You just, like, you're either hitting your shots or you're failing. There's not an awful lot that you can do if you're missing your shots. And that's just kind of a charger thing. But at least with this weapon, you actually have a way to poke someone who's outside of your range. And that was not the case with the other Squiffer. The other Squiffer, you either got into their range and, like, I don't know, maybe you were able to hit, like, a shot out of your big bubbler or something and use that to keep yourself safe. But for the most part, it was you were either in range and on line of sight, or you could not hit them with anything ever. And this actually gives you an ability to deal with someone who's trying to dislodge you from a position from longer range. You chuck one of those at the enemy backline, and now you might actually be able to move, which is super nice. You're not as dependent on the rest of your team for that. You're still probably going to be somewhat dependent on the rest of your team for paint, because a lot of your time is going to be spent doing this sort of thing and trying to close distance with that sort of a shot, except for the part where I missed. And that's not as much paint as I was putting down by doing this. So, while the paint isn't bad, you're not going to be spending an awful lot of time using it, probably, because you're busy trying to, be sick with it and hit zipcaster shots and stuff. So, that's about what I've got to offer in terms of mechanical advice here. Like we said, your jump shots are going to be your main source of, fast one-shots, damage, threatening the enemy team. So you want to get up into a position where you've got some cover, but then once you're coming out of the cover, you could, play it traditionally like a charger and still do this sort of thing. But if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, you could also try to approach by jumping and hit one of these instead. And as long as you hit that shot, that works. If you miss that shot, good luck. Good luck, Gem. I will need it. Oh, man, this is going to be so bad. Whew. It's for the content. Okay, I am the longest ranged weapon on the team, and that's not great because they have a Z and F. So, we do have a bomb to put into the shield. We're going to do that. But nobody was going after the shield at all. I was not expecting it to go down that fast. It's not a great start for the purposes of demoing the weapon. I want to know that there's nobody coming that way. That is a crab tank. We're not going to try and contest that. You can still do charge hold stuff with this weapon. It's not out of the question. It is a way that you can move with your charge. Just going to try and hold that left side so that they can't use it for as long as possible. Sometimes you don't need to actually hit the shot because you just have the zipcaster to do the job for you. It's AoE. What a concept. I don't need to have perfect aim on every element of this weapon's kit. I would have hit one of those shots by now if I were a charger main. So just imagine that I did something cool there. You can see this range that I'm playing at. where I'm kind of shifting around a lot, looking for opportunities to hit one-shots without having to worry about maintaining my sight lines as much. I was trying to get a zip off the wall and then jump over the top of the stamp and, I don't know, hope that I recalled and then the hammer go... I didn't really have much of a plan at that point, but... you can see why, like, this can feel a little bit freeing to play when you're a charger player, because normally you have to take very specific positions. I'm not sure if I missed there or if I just didn't have enough charge. Normally you have to take very specific positions, and you play a lot of the game from basically the same spots. And this gives you the freedom to play the weapon that you like, but maybe a little bit more fluidly from some spots that aren't normally areas of the map you get to spend a lot of time exploring. That said, it does sacrifice in terms of range, and that is one of your big advantages as a weapon. So, yeah, I was going to hit the ceiling there. I didn't think about that. It was like, I'll just use the jump to get up over the top of the Rainmaker. Okay, good stop. Let's see if we can get anything done by doing this. Apparently not. General tips for Zipcaster, you want to be using them on walls and then hopping up over the top of the walls so that the wall keeps you safe right up until the point where you're actually ready to hit something. Don't challenge that charger, it has longer range. I think that shot actually would have been on if I had the range to hit it. So like there, for example, I was able to actually move forward into a position to challenge that charger like it was like I was a frontline weapon. And that's something that the mobility helps you do. But anyway, Zipcaster stuff. So you're aiming for walls to use the cover that the wall gives you to protect the vulnerable attaching animation. I don't want to get too much closer to that because now they're going to start shooting at me. It's the second time I've caught them with that. One other really nice thing about this weapon is that while, you know, it doesn't have quite the range of the Goo Tuber, it's going to get to max charge a lot faster. And sure, the Goo Tuber makes up for that somewhat in its ability to partial charge and get lethal damage from that, but it's still going to take a while if you want to get the absolute full range out of it. And you don't have to worry about that as much with this weapon. I hit a few shots, I did a few things. I wasn't expecting my Zipcasters to get massive value. Typically, the Zipcaster target is just going to be the enemy backliner. I just wasn't finding where they were when I had the Zip. And that might be, you know, something they were doing. It might just be poor awareness on my part. Because a backliner is going to want to recognize when the enemy team has that Zipcaster, because that's one of the primary targets for the Zipcaster is going to be them. They're going to be used to being targeted by those, and wanting to know when those are coming. And also shooting them down out of the sky, and a little bit of it might have just been that I was really intimidated, not wanting to get shot out of the sky. Speaking really quickly to Squiffer Gear, again, I'm mostly just looking at sendo.ink/builds for this, so you can find this resource really easily on your own, but I'm seeing a lot of comeback. I'm seeing a lot of swim speed. I'm seeing everybody running 2 subs of special power-up, so that has to be a threshold that people are really interested in hitting. Some utility subs, seeing a lot of Inksaver main, like people running like 2 subs of it. But mostly like swim speed, comeback, stealth jump, and utility subs. So those are the main ones there. So, looking really quickly at the E-Leader for comparison, a lot of E-Leaders are going to run Respawn Punisher. This is literally the single weapon in the game where Respawn Punisher makes some sense, because this is a weapon that should just not be dying a lot. And so the fact that it's there to specifically get picks, but also there to stay alive and anchor for the team, gives it the kind of ratio that would actually make Respawn Punisher worth running. I personally am not going to do it, because for me, I'm not good at the weapon and I'm not going to hit that many shots. I'm not going to make it worth it, probably. But that is something to seriously consider if you're really planning on getting serious about chargers. Basically, everyone's running a main of special power-up, because that's going to extend the length of time that the Kraken lasts, and that's really important for this weapon, because there's a huge difference in the range that you want to be playing at with an E-Leader versus the range you want to be playing at with a Kraken. It's probably the single biggest possible difference in range. So that's a big deal. Basically, everyone's running some Inksaver main with this weapon, because it's a very slow firing weapon. You already have a lot of downtime. You don't want to have more downtime while you're waiting for your ink to refill before you can fire shots. You want to be able to fire shots whenever you're ready to fire the shots. So, makes some sense. Some people are running some sub power up to give better beacons, faster jumps back to their teammates, which makes a lot of sense. It's something that is only going to compound with the quick respawns, with the tacticooler jumps, to get people in very, very quickly and keep the enemy team pushed back even when players go down. And then, for the most part, they're just running a little bit of swim speed as well, so they can rotate from position to position more quickly. A lot of it is about minimizing your downtime, minimizing the amount of time that you're not firing a shot on the E-Leader. So, in the meantime, am probably just going to stick to this build, because I don't want to mess with it, and I don't really have any Charger Gear built, so I'm not going to get anything particularly closely resembling that anyway. So, E-Leader. Longest range weapon in the entire game. The scoped E-Leader is technically, and I'm running the unscoped, because this is just the kind of Charger that I'm most used to playing, but this weapon hits from crazy, crazy far away. I can hit this from up here. And that's something that really changes the way you play the game. Because from here, this looks broken. But from here, this is a really bad weapon. You don't ever want them to get close to you at all. Your tap shots, are as fast as any other Charger's tap shots. But this is the best you've got when they get close to you, and let me tell you, a splatter shot has got better than that. A 52 gal has got better than that. It also is a straight line of sight weapon. So AoE weapons are the bane of a backliner's existence. They will sit underneath ledges where you will hit the floor if you try to aim in their direction, and you have to kind of do one of these to be able to get them, which exposes you a lot more, makes you more vulnerable. Just not a position that you want to be in. You want to be stopping players, ideally, before they can get into those positions where they can harass you. Another thing that you really need to be careful about is staying in one place for too long. Once someone knows where the E-Leader is firing shots from, you've got maybe like one more shot from there before they're probably just safe. They're going to recognize, oh, there's someone aiming at me, I need to move. Because your shots take a really long time. Like, think about how far you can swim in the amount of time it takes for me to fire this shot. Just like... It's probably like that much that you can swim in the amount of time it takes to charge an E-Leader. This weapon has ridiculous range, but if you're like midway through their range, you can probably swim almost all the way out by the time that charge finishes from start to finish. And the entire time that you're charging it, your laser is visible. So what you want to be doing, of course, a lot of the time is hiding the laser. You get up against a wall like this. So now the only part of you that they can see is this glowy bit on the gun. You can see that there is still that glow on the weapon that is visible, and it's very conspicuous. It pokes out a lot. So while the laser is hidden, they will still see you, especially if they're experienced at the game. But hiding the laser is still a really good idea so that, for example, if they're not looking in your direction, they don't notice. Because from here, they don't have to be looking in your direction. They'll see that laser from all the way down where this guy is. But if you hide the laser, at least they have to be looking at you to be able to spot that. Generally, there are only a few positions in the game that you want to play as something this long range. Because you want to avoid places where there's big stuff in your way. You want to stick to high ground as much as you possibly can. You need good sight lines to really be able to make use of range this massive. I've long said that if the game were just flat open ground with no cover whatsoever, that E-liter would be absolutely broken and you basically couldn't play another weapon. But the game is not like that specifically because it has so much cover, there's so much variation, and weapons have places to hide from you as they run toward you or run towards your teammates or play the objective. So you're going to need to be able to hit shots in a small window of time between when players have to cross the no man's land between two pieces of cover. Because while there's going to be cover all over the place, someone's going to have to cross it eventually if they want to play the objective. And that's when you're trying to hit your shots. So you're trying to be unseen until someone tries to do that. Hit your shot, maybe fire one or two more from that spot if it's still good, if it's still protected, and then move someplace else when you can, so that they don't know where the next shots are going to come from and they don't have a read on how they need to play to avoid being on your sight line. You want to get really good at threading your aim around pieces of cover, at hitting people at angles they didn't think they could be hit at. So doing things like this jump shot here where it looks like you're completely behind the thing, but then you just pop up over the top because you've got right side peek on this weapon. Stuff like that is really good. Any piece of cover like this that you find that you can make jump shots over is really nice, because then you're only exposing your head up over the top of the cover when you jump, and you're going back down below the cover afterwards, so you're not exposed for very long at all. And that can keep you very safe. So those are some general E-liter tips, what I've picked up over time. Check out Devi's backline positioning guide if you want tips on where you should be standing to get maximum impact. I've found those guides to be very useful for my own play, even as a frontliner trying to figure out where people are going to be as backliners. Beacons. Beacons are not a bad part of the kit. As a backline weapon, you're going to be someone that your team is jumping to a lot of the time, and so this is just amplifying that impact that you have for the team, that even when you go down, you can still have a place out on the map for your teammates to jump back into. And they're basically always going to have a super jump point. They're never going to have to swim all the way back out as long as you're around. That should really kind of be your goal. Like, number one super jump spot is something that you should be aiming for every game. And that's not a joke. Like, that's really a valuable part of keeping your team in the game. That's part of what the anchor is there for. You're there to be a difficult weapon to clear out, so that the enemy team's progress is halted even when you are put at a disadvantage for a little bit. And they're not able to get as much out of their push as they otherwise would have been able to. They're not able to fully wipe you because there's still an E-liter out on the map, and it's going to give jumps to its teammates at a range where the frontliners can't even contest. Because, like, let's say the fight happens way over there, and that's where they finally clear out the last player, but now the first player's jumping back in. Well, if you're already playing all the way back here, and you just drop down below this ledge or something, you're going to get this super jump in safely, and they're not going to be able to move up and push you out of the way, because now you're already going to have frontliners back there with you. You might need to back up a little bit yourself, but with your frontliners here, you're going to be able to hold this eventually. So beacons, like we said, work pretty well with that. You're not super in need of a sub-weapon. You hit from so far away that you should be able to protect yourself in a lot of cases. It would obviously be nice to have something like a burst bomb to paint your feet, to be able to do a little bit of extra chip damage, to hit over the top of stuff so that you can't get blocked as hard by walls. But we had that in Splatoon 1 and it was kind of busted, and so we're just going to not give E-liter that, and it's going to be fine. The main weapon is plenty sufficient without needing the help of a bomb. Now, the special weapon is a weird kind of like almost mismatch with this weapon in that it plays at melee range. You do not do damage with the Kraken unless you are like this close to them. Well, this is not where you want to be as an E-leader, so how do we fix this? What we generally want to do is, like we said, we don't want to be seen very often. We want to be surprising people with our shots. Make them think either, I didn't know the leader was there, or more realistically, I didn't know they could hit that from there, I didn't know they had charge, etc., etc. I didn't know they were looking at that angle. And that means that a certain amount of your gameplay is already going to revolve around stealth, around hiding where you are or masking your intentions. So what you want to be doing is employing that same kind of stealth to sneak forward a little bit when you start to use the Kraken, or just to move forward in positions where you have a little bit of time in transition, where maybe you've gotten a lot of picks on the enemy team, there's nobody that's going to be in your way, you feel very confident it's going to be safe to move forward, and then you can just move up. The further forward you can start the Kraken, obviously the better, because the sooner it's going to reach the enemy team. You're not going to need to spend some seconds of the Kraken's uptime just getting into position. Then, one thing you have to always consider with Kraken, with any weapon, but especially with this one, is that when you transform back, you are very vulnerable. It's very easy to camp a Kraken as they're transforming back into squid form. So, you don't want to be near the enemy team when it's transforming, which means you need to spend another little bit of time at the end of the Kraken getting yourself back away from everybody else. And this goes back to why we're running a little bit of special power-up. We need to make sure that we're going to have the time to get something done with this special in between the time it takes to get over there and the time it takes to retreat to a safe position. There are a couple of things that you can try to do to mitigate this. One of them is to use super jumping to get yourself back out of the unsafe position. So you pop the Kraken, you go in, do what you're going to do, and then when it's time to back out of the way, you just, instead of having to fully retreat, what you could do with the Kraken is drop over a ledge and then super jump back to a teammate. Dropping over a ledge is a really great way to break line of sight for a brief moment of time, just long enough to get a super jump off. Because even though they can hit you here, they can't necessarily hit you here. They're going to have to chase you, they're shooting like this. Well, now they have to chase you all the way around the block, and in the time that it takes to chase you around the block, you can get a super jump off. This is a weapon that gets a lot more value out of super jumping than most. I would definitely recommend running at least 2 subs of quick super jump. I have seen people run as much of a main of that, and it makes sense to me to run that much, because you're not trying to go down, you're trying to super jump out if you get into any kind of trouble. You're going to be seeing that coming from a mile away. It's not the sort of thing that's going to surprise you in the way they can sometimes surprise a frontliner. And you just want to always have that option in your back pocket to get away, get back to someplace a little bit more safe. Using your beacons to get there is nice, but it's also really good to have a sense of where your teammates are. Maybe even memorize the D-pad inputs so you know which teammate you're going to jump to, and you can choose that selectively. And that way, you're always going to have not just a safe place to jump back to, but a place to jump back to that's going to give you impact on the game more quickly. Because one of the biggest problems with this weapon is the downtime, the amount of time that you're not firing shots, you're not threatening the enemy team, not doing lethal damage. This is just really, really slow, and if you miss even one shot, like just there, the amount of time that it takes before you can fire another is insane. It's during that downtime that you might want to take the opportunity to reposition, because while that will add more downtime in total, it will also make it more likely that any one shot that you take gets you value. You want to be surprising people with where those shots are coming from, so rotation is going to be really important for that. More than like most other weapons, backline weapons are very positioning dependent, and that means that they're also very map mode dependent. I hear people who play Chargers talking all the time about whether something is a quote-unquote e-liter map. A map where you have good e-liter sight lines, where it's beneficial to play that over one of the other Chargers. That's knowledge that I'm not, like, super in touch with. I can, hazard some guesses. I can talk about some maps that I know are particularly good for it. But I couldn't list, like, out of all of the map modes in the game, which ones you prefer in e-liter versus something else. That's something that you'll just kind of have to go and figure out based on your own knowledge. But I will be doing my best on these map modes to play the positions that I am given as best I can. Maybe we'll actually hit a shot or two. One can hope. We do not have a lot of frontline here, and there is a blaster we'll have to worry about, as well as a roller we'll have to worry about. The tent can block our shots. So we've got our work cut out for us here, but there are some weapons we can bully here. This is unorthodox pathing, but it might get me something if people don't see this here. Okay, I don't have the range to hit that. I might have it from here. I know an E-liter can hit that spot, I just haven't figured out exactly from where, because I've only ever been on the receiving end of those shots. Okay, that'll clear tower. We cannot stay there. Okay, Zuka goes after me, but that's fine because they're exposing themselves in front of the whole team. So they go down for that. Let's get some beacons down in the meantime so that players have ways back in. Aha, you're closer than I thought. We're just going to jump out of here. No need to be hasty about it. And we get back into range so quickly because we are on a backline weapon. There is a Zuka out. 2 shots, waiting for the third. They jumped. I was expecting them to just swim off. I don't know whether I would have hit, but I would have been a lot closer, that's for sure. Okay, let's clear the tower. There we go. And that player's down. Okay, that's where I can hit that from. Let's just give myself this so I can get back here quicker. That'd be a smart thing to do. I'm gonna hop up here and see if I can take advantage of this angle to get shots further forward. Protecting first check. I could have hit that one. There's someone down here. Found him. I probably... there might have been an opportunity to pop Kraken. Might have been an opportunity to jump out if I had a little more quick super jump. This is a bad idea. Let's do it. I was just trying to read because I could not tell where they were. Unfortunate. This is a tough situation to play from as a backline weapon. Because you need to push, and that is not what your weapon is good at. Okay, they're just going to jump. Let's rotate back up there. And actually rotate forward a little bit more. Let's ride for a bit, and if someone challenges us, we might be able to just pop over here. Oh, they're going to push me off. Probably need to get this player. I was one tap shot away, I think, from getting them. It was pretty close, and then I could probably have holed up in the corner there and let my teammate protect me. So, we almost got there. Let's try rotating over here and see if we catch someone off guard. Okay, we'll give some jumps back in here, and this gets our team back. Almost got them. This person's probably trying to come after me here. Firing at me, so I can't get over. If I had a little bit more time, that might have worked. Or better height. Not really getting a lot from being over there now. Let's rotate back over here. Okay, nice. And now nobody should be able to get to the tower. We want to move every few shots because at some point they're going to figure out where the shots are coming from. At this point we have Kraken for the rest of the game. That wasn't a bad game. I feel like I understand my positioning on that map decently well as a leader. I know where I have good sight lines. I know what I can threaten. And sometimes I get an opportunity to hit a shot. What do you know? Honestly, I'm just happy to go positive and get the #1 super jump spot. I'm dying a lot more often than you would expect a Season D leader player to go down. But I'm at least contributing to a degree. Got a couple of picks that I'm happy with. And I'm going to call it there because this is easily probably my worst main weapon in the game. Just not something that I have a lot of practice with or a lot of mechanical skill on. So I'm happy with what I put out there, and hopefully there was at least something that was useful for you to see. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.